So this video is going to be a retrospective look at everything I've done to this 57 Chevrolet on this customer build. If you guys remember in my other videos, this car was brought here with an LS3 and 4L80 that are intended to go inside of it. Currently, as the car sits, I'm its first stop to get its new drivetrain, and then it's on to the body shop and then the upholstery shop. But for right now, I'm going to get started on showing you guys exactly how I got this LS3 and 4L80 in here. And again, I have my other videos you guys can go back and look at if you have any more questions. But this is going to basically cover everything I did, going really quickly through it, and then at the end covering a brief glance at what I did with the cooling system um, and the radiator support for this setup here. But here you'll see the 327 and the Power Glide. It came in here. This isn't original equipment. This is just what was in the car when the customer bought it from the previous owner. And it's got a really old crusty battery in here, so we're gonna have to replace that too. But yeah, we're gonna start ripping this thing out. And here you'll see, basically, I'm just getting everything out to get the radiator support out, disconnecting a few things, and just lifting the whole assembly out. Transmission, everything. Keeping the coolant system intact as well. Really not trying to make too much of a mess. But it's really basic in here, as you guys can see. And here's the frame rail inside, so I'm going to have to mount a special mount for the new style LS engine. And here's just this setup again, the 327 and the 4L80 on a pallet, tied down, ready to go back home to the customer, so he can do whatever he wishes with this. Now here's just me modifying the inside of the frame rail to put those mounts, but basically I wish I had took this AC compressor off at the start, but basically here I'm showing you guys the engine that's going in and me getting it prepped up to attach the transmission to kind of get things mocked up and get it in there once and for all. It's a pretty clean motor. I really didn't do any wiping down of it, so I'm just glad it looks how it looks. It came out of a G8 Pontiac, so the customer got it from a good friend of his. And according to his friend and the customer himself, it's a pretty healthy motor. So see, I got the motor in here, ended up taking off that stupid AC compressor, but it sits in there so well. So this is the cross member. It's a Speedway cross member for a 4L80 57 Chevrolet build. Here things go fast. Here I'm modifying the fuel system for a Walbro 255 in-tank electric pump. The customer wants to use an aftermarket fuel tank that's made of stainless steel with an intake sending unit. It's all going to be filtered and regulated by this Corvette regulator to get the 58 to 60 psi necessary. And here's me modifying the sending unit for this tank. Here's pushing the wires through for the wiring harness. Pretty straightforward, making sure to keep the pedal and transmission control mounted tightly underneath the dash. This is pretty straightforward. The longer side of the harness for this build goes towards the driver's side. And with everything plugged in, it just looks really clean. So here I'm kind of mocking up a system for the fans for cooling as well as the intake. And the problem lied with the original radiator that sat where you see the fans on the back of the support and the cap. The cap sat right smack dab hitting the intake, or almost hitting the intake's throttle body, I should say. So here you'll see my answer to that. This is a kind of setup a lot of folks run with the radiator in the front and the fans behind the radiator support. This one ended up coming out pretty clean. Cut holes and lined them with some rubber C-channel to get the radiator tubes to go in through the hoses. And the customer's going to figure out what to do about the radiator overflow, but everything's fitting pretty good. And this intake that we've used here is actually a cheap truck intake, but the curvature and the angle allows it to clear one of the shrouds of the dual fans, as well as angle it down the corner to use a much lower profile air filter. And it looks pretty good back there. Customer's pretty happy with it. And again, here's just another look. I'm also going to install a transmission cooler using PTFE lines and some low-profile banjo fittings that actually are going to go on the body of the 4L80. Here's pretty much the last piece of the puzzle here. You get this thing on the road, the drive shaft, which is essentially just a modified, recut one with a shaft that goes into a 4L80 instead of a power glide. And here you'll see the layout. You can kind of see the transmission cooler down there and how I have that routed. The battery I'm not happy with it being placed there. Currently that actual red wire you see is battery direct power that's supposed to run to the controller for the radiator cooling fans. Customer doesn't know where he wants to put the battery at. I guess the body man's going to figure that out. And I also have to attach this transmission dipstick to the firewall. That's no big deal. But everything fits really nicely in here. And the customer's kind of happy with what we were able to achieve. And you know, you have to have your dramatic starting video, but I don't think mine's going to have too much drama to it. Success. Got some healthy oil pressure to it. All in all, this was a pretty fun build, guys. Most of these parts that we were able to get to help put this in here were available through Speedway Direct. And everything else pretty much came from your usual parts house. So, while this was a fun build, guys, I think I'm on to messing with my El Camino again. I'm going to pull that one out and just start seeing what I could do to it on the budget like I always like to. You know, keep things on the cheap. But yeah, this one was fun. Thank you guys for coming through this whole little journey with getting this thing running with me. And I'll see you guys in the next one.